So don't leave us yet. We have our final speaker. Monty, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I've done many operator panels in my time, and I dread them. But that was really interesting.
It was really nice. It seemed like you guys actually...
They are opposing, but they're friendly to each other. And if they do become one, then, well, that sounds great.
It sounded exciting.
Over
what's
to
coming
the government,
up.
I think.
Awesome.
How are you going?
Huh?
How are you getting on?
You know what? I'm doing amazing. I'm enjoying it. I got free food, you know. All of that's good. Monty, so last one we have. I know you guys are now having conversations, but I think you guys will be really interested in listening to our last speaker, who actually, Monty, weirdly, he used to have the best rock band in Lebanon 30 years ago, and it's called Equation. And supposedly he was one of the best solo guitarists on hard rock guitar.
No way.
So my conversation with him was amazing. So I would like to introduce to you guys the founder and managing partner of Abou Jaoude Associates law firm, and his name is Carlos Abou Jaoude. Monty, could I ask you to move, please?
Move.
Hi.
Yes. Closer to Carlos, please.
Carlos, pleasure to meet you.
So Carlos, if you want to sit here, and
Yes.
Monty, if you want to.
You want me here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you
you.
very much. Carlos, hello. Gentlemen, if you're going to do some deals, do you think you can do it outside, please? It's very disruptive to this man. Carlos, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Same like.
It's the last session of the day.
Hopefully.
Done 7, so we need to go for a beer afterwards, all right?
Okay.
And I think these people do as well. So we had a conversation yesterday.
Yes.
We had a great, fun conversation. Hope to relay this to the audience. Tell me about yourself. Tell me what you do and how you got here and what's going on.
I'm a lawyer.
Maybe higher. Speak a little
Yes,
bit.
yes. I'm a lawyer. My law firm is engaged in the telecom and banking and financial activities. So we're very active in many domains. So I think they needed to fill in a space which was not yet unfilled, law, which is not very exciting.
No.
So they wanted to create some excitement out of a topic which is not very exciting in similar.
Well, I think it'll be exciting for startups. we'll get to that.
Yes.
So, but were you born in Lebanon?
Yes, I'm born in
And you've
Lebanon.
always been here. You've been here for the different changes.
I've always lived in Lebanon. I lived a bit abroad, like 8 years, and I travel a lot.
And I'd imagine demand for lawyers in Lebanon has been quite high over the years.
Not really.
No?
No.
Business is good?
Business is okay.
Excellent.
But we have a different legal environment in Lebanon. Than we're still not a platform for businesses which are other than litigation, etc. So the market, the banking and financial market, telecom, etc., hasn't been so like a real need now with all the new legislations that are taking place, especially the BDL circulars, which are promoting activities, capital markets, etc., and VCs. So the market is expanding in this area.
It is, okay.
Yes.
All right. Also in media, telecoms as well?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Any other sectors that are booming?
Actually, when you speak about booming sectors in Lebanon, traditionally we've been having a banking booming industry for the past like 10, 15 years. And curiously, in 2008, post-crisis, when there was a huge crisis all over the world, in Lebanon banking was booming. We witnessed a growth in 4 years. The banks doubled their deposits base. Post-crisis, yes. And the economy in Lebanon between mid-2008 until end of 2010 was witnessing a growth of 8 to 9%.
Why?
Because we're smarter than the rest of the world.
No, come on, there must be
No,
something.
definitely.
I mean, everywhere else.
In Lebanon, we have a real economy. We've never been into like these
Ghost economies.
ghost economies. And actually, there was something which very few people know. The governor of the central bank, and I'm not praising him, but it's a fact, was very strict with banks about investing in subprimes, etc. So we had like very strict rules. So when there was the collapse, Lebanese banks were fit, like they were able to face. And they have never been adventurers. Our Lebanese banks have never been into like big adventures. So they were into real economy.
That's a story I didn't know, and I'm going to find out about
It's an untold story.
No, who else was good doing that? Which other countries were good? I think Norway was quite smart.
No.
No?
No one. Only Lebanon was able to.
Only Lebanon?
Yes. No, but you know how to use Google. I saw, like, I Googled you. You're everywhere. So you Google Lebanon. It was the only country that was having a growth.
Is that
The other countries, yes. The other one, Indonesia, was still.
Indonesia also.
It dropped from 8 to around 3.
And that was because
Turkey. No, because of the international crisis.
Yeah, no, but the reason that Lebanon survived was because you had regulation.
So can you say again?
You had regulation.
Yeah,
it was difficult for
the
banks.
banking sector was very much regulated. And at that time, we had the total deposits, total bank balance sheets was around $70 billion. And it increased first year, like in 2009, by 12 million, then 14, 18, then 14. So it doubled in 4 years. And imagine if you want to make a comparison between banking sector in Lebanon, like a year ago or now, and Greece or Cyprus. In Lebanon, we have 200 billion plus.
Wow.
In Greece, 130 billion.
Yeah.
In Cyprus, 70 billion. So imagine, like, Greece is a country with double our population, 5 times our GDP, $130 billion of deposits. Yes.
So all of the conversations I've been having today and about the bizarre growth of Lebanon and how Beirut survives and prospers, a lot of it is down to this.
Lebanon has always defied the laws of gravity. You know, if you want to explain, like, why is it happening? In 2008, huge crisis, as I said. In Lebanon, real estate was multiplied by 2 times to 10 times, depending on the area. And the boom started in May 2008. It should have stopped in September post-crisis. It continued to increase.
I remember.
2010 was an outstanding year as well.
And since then, it's just been slow growth?
It slowed down post-2012.
Why?
Political situation. But it's not interesting for them, like, to
So you've had paralysis for 4 years. This sounds like a country ready to lift off. It sounds like a country that is ready to lift off.
Yes, of course.
If this new government delivers, it seems to have quite an easy job because so many things are stopped or not bad, but, you know, they've been halted. And maybe the money comes flowing back into the country.
You have a lot of cash in Lebanon.
Yeah.
A lot of cash. We're above $200 billion in cash. And if you want to talk about, like, the startups market.
Yeah.
In Lebanon, between what the subsidies of the central bank and the private initiatives, there is approximately something like $800 million available to disburse.
Jeez.
Or on a GDP of 50 billion, which is like
amazing.
In the UK, the figure in terms of proportion between availability of funds and GDP is 0.3%. We're above 2%.
Wow.
So this is something, and this is a huge boost to this industry.
Yeah.
So
I got away from the recession in 2008 by luck on the day. I took my wife and my 5-year-old son and we went to India. We went to India, we lived on the beach for 2 years and realised we could work and all that stuff.
That's why you seem a happy person.
No,
2 years on the beach.
2 years.
I would like trade places with you.
But one of the funny things was, I like cricket, and it was the first game of this new series or whatever. And I met a girl, Sarah Lacey. She used to be a reporter for TechCrunch. and now she runs her own publishing business. And she said to me, I said, how are things in London? She said, well, how much money do you think there's in London at the moment to invest? And I said, I don't know. She said, have a guess. I said, well, I don't know, 30 billion? And she went, 40. And I went, oh, that's all right. She goes, no, not 40 billion, 40 million, right? That's how poor we were, we gradually got it all back, So that sounds like really optimistic for Lebanon. There's cash here, there are startups here doing stuff, there's an immature accelerator situation, there's not so many mature startups, but you don't even have to get money from Saudi Arabia, you don't need to get money from the Gulf.
Let me go back in time with you and tell you how an entrepreneur functions.
Yeah.
Today, the largest economy in the world is the United States. How did this happen? It happened a long time ago. It wasn't a country. People were flowing from mainly Europe, etc. Who were these people? All of them rebels. People who were persona non grata and rebels.
Explorers.
They called themselves explorers, but they were rebels. They were anti-system. They went there, and a person who's anti-system is by nature an entrepreneur. They went to the United States, and after 400 or 500 years, they created a nation, a country, which decided to defy everything. Now, the US economy is around 23% of the international economy. It cannot have happened like by pure luck, because these people want to challenge everything. Which is the largest economy now? China. No, the largest economy is United States, 17 trillion. The second largest is China, 10. Go back 10 years in time, it wasn't the second largest economy. It was the sixth largest and the seventh largest. Japan was the second, Germany the third, UK, France, then China. How did it happen? How were they able to get to second place? When they accepted to copy the dynamics of the first economy. So you got to be an entrepreneur, not a conservative person, not into sharing, to succeed. So this is what entrepreneurship is about.
Agreed.
So in Lebanon, Lebanese, we know that Lebanese are big entrepreneurs. We have 4 million Lebanese in Lebanon, 12 to 16 million abroad. Okay. So let's give some examples. Remittances. Total remittances in the world are $580 billion per annum. 480. Over a total economy of 70 trillion. How much do you think Lebanon gets out of these remittances? 580 billion. We're 4 million in Lebanon out of 7 billion population.
Tell me.
What's our share of the 580 billion? Between 7.8 billion
I would say
and 9 billion.
9 billion.
Between 7.8, it dropped now because of the compliance, etc., and rules, so it dropped to 7.88 billion dollars. 8 billion out of 580 is a huge amount, whereas our GDP is 0.005% of the world GDP. It means that we have a huge capacity to export people and to export capital and to import.
And they're happy to send money home.
Yes, they send money home.
Very happy.
And Lebanon doesn't rely only on its GDP, which is 50 billion. If you see the lifestyle, it's higher than the GDP. So this is because of our GNP. So Lebanon, when you talk about like startups in Lebanon, it's easier if we create really this platform, this place, Lebanon, and thanks to the support of the central bank and alternatively the banks, which are in turn supported by the central bank, you can boost this, but it's not yet boosted the way it should be.
Was this the initiative in 2014, chapter 331? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Is it 331? Yeah.
What's a startup? in modern world, a startup is a trial, is a corporation which is trying to do something. 9 out of 10 of which has to fail. This is a pragmatic definition of a startup. You like to promote a startup by being a company which can hit 30 billion. No, this is one startup out of many. To create an environment, a proper environment for startups, needs education, skills, and guts. Now, because not necessarily in an immature market guts exist, the initiative came to fill in this part, to say like, go ahead and invest in startups. You don't care if these startups succeed or lose. We're covering a very high percentage of your investment, which can go as high as 75%. So this startup, which startup and entrepreneur, is something which goes with less prudence, more risk. So it's startup, less prudence, more risk.
Absolutely.
They go hand in hand. So if you want to study it from a risk viewpoint and prudence viewpoint, most of the people who study these cases, most of them can be obsolete. They cannot understand what's it all about. So they study it from a risk viewpoint. How can an application become a success? In France, most of the taxi companies in France venture together to say, like, we'll have the biggest fleet of taxis, capital expenditure of many billions of euros, and this is how we will capture the market. And this was done like a few years ago. Then a guy who was like pissed off for waiting like hours and hours, not finding a taxi, created an application. Imagine the largest transportation company in the world is an application. And I don't know, as we speak, maybe he jumped from 70 to $80 billion as we speak. Maybe he had found himself like another app he added, we don't know. And Taxi Bleu and this venture is almost out of business. So imagine like Amazon and all these Alibaba, they don't own the stock, they have like applications. And eventually...
Well, they exist because, like the guy who's waiting for a taxi for ages, they exist because the existing model is useless. And then they do something.
And if you want to say, like, what is a startup today? You ask anybody, what is a startup today? He will immediately think of an application, a mobile. A startup, a few years ago, 100 years ago, a casino was a startup because it was the new world. Now, the startup has to be like a watch, a phone, eyeglasses with some features.
I think a startup needs to have 6 letters. If it doesn't have 6 letters, it's never going to fail.
So Lebanon, because people have this entrepreneurial spirit.
So they're rebellious. We've heard the word resilient people.
Yes. And there's a huge support from the central bank. Banks now will more easily invest in startups simply because they have over-invested in government bonds and in lending. So they need to either, although it's a small market, but they need to invest in startups or in the stock market, because we have a stock market which is underperforming.
Yeah.
So the thing about startups with the subsidies of the central bank or the support of the central bank, we should add like the element of risk, like the element of risk to whomever work in this industry, banker, mainly bankers, venture capitalists, etc. So there should be an education of and an acceptance that 9 startups or 4 startups out of 10 or 9 or 8 startups out of 10 have to fail. They have to fail. Like if you score 6 startups out of 6, it means that there's something wrong. You should change your business model. If you want to be like in this game, you cannot score in startups. So the topic you chose for me is like entrepreneurship in the legal profession.
Oh, let's just keep talking.
Yeah.
Let's not,
No,
don't.
I'm telling you how we can do it. Like, if we have an approach, because law accompanies startups to exist, to grow, to attract capital, etc. So if we assist startups only by like accepting facts that are being given, but like doing our job the way it should be done, like a lot of prudence.
When do you think is the best time? Okay, let's just say 90% of startups fail.
If you want me to be an entrepreneur, I should take off my tie. It's like,
and grow a
can
beard.
I?
Yeah. Oh, go. Yeah, absolutely. You got it?
Yes.
You've got to take off 2 buttons, not no one.
2?
2.
Okay.
Perfect. There you are. Now you're a VC.
Yes.
Carry on talking, please. So my question was, when should a startup, wants to be lean, doesn't want to spend money, gets a first contract, it's easy, and then, it's a proposal, you sign a proposal, it's fine. You set terms when you get paid, which is what I do as a consultant. I'm not a startup, I'm a consultant. I am no value, but I can make a living.
At least you admit it. Consultants don't admit it usually. No, I'm kidding.
No, but when do they bring in a lawyer? When would you suggest? Okay, let's just say startup's been going 6 months, revenues are coming in, it's raised $500,000, it's doing okay with its burn rate, they might land an elephant or
Why
a tiger.
does it have to raise only 500,000?
No, I'm just using it as a stupid number.
Okay.
Should you be in there at the start of things?
No. As part of the central bank initiative and such initiatives, I think each bank should allocate people a desk just to attract, for people to dare and come, because sometimes people are shy, they don't know who to talk to.
Yeah.
So if each bank or the large bank says like, we have a team dedicated to help you understand what you have.
Yeah.
And these banks, because they have subsidies, can like appoint like few firms, and some firms can maybe offer this preliminary service on a free of charge basis, just to guide them through. Because when you want to create a market, many participants should subsidize it. It cannot be just like a governor with a vision, like giving instructions and like people following it. No, it has to be like all the participants have to create their market. And if you're able to create your market,
I think that London and Beirut have got one thing very much in common, and that is that we've always had extraordinarily strong banking sectors, So what the Bank of Lebanon is doing, I'm not saying that because they're, I just think it's a brilliant thing. I think it's amazing. And I agree that I think every bank should almost be mandatorily forced to invest in startups because it's the future of their country. Yeah. But I would say that it's not the only one. I've had meetings recently with Barclays in London, Lloyds in London. They're finally getting it into their head.
For instance, as part of an initiative in Netherlands, they said like, I want my country to be an attraction in some industry. And they chose a concept, they built a concept which is unique, very unique, the box of innovation.
Okay.
Like if you have an idea, an invention, you can apply and register and have some unique tax regime. Unique. So this unique tax regime enables you out of an application, which is a unique application. So it's intellectual property thing and design thing.
Understood.
If out of this application you can attract 30% of your international income out of this application, you'll have a unique regime of 5% tax, and you're operating out of a European country which is very compliant. I'm talking about Netherlands. So Netherlands became an attraction place for research and development offices, business, etc. So they have. So if we want to like trigger this industry in Lebanon, we have a basket of money which is subsidized by the central bank. Unfortunately, the money is allocated only to startups in Lebanon to be sold in or outside Lebanon. But ultimately, because of our mix in Lebanon, 4 million in Lebanon, 12 million outside Lebanon, it has to be like spread.
Absolutely.
It has maybe to be spread to allocated to Lebanese, not only to Lebanon on Lebanese soil. So assume like you want it to be a one-stop shop, Lebanon to be a one-stop shop. This one-stop shop should have like people guiding you through the process, money available to be invested in, and a sector which can service you, including lawyer, auditor, consultants, advisors, financial advisors. We're very close to it because Lebanese are entrepreneurs.
No, but I think there's been a battle in the last few years as the tech hub of Europe, the best talent, the best city, right? So London, I have to say, is the best city in the world. Will never change.
I know, you have to say
it's
it.
amazing, and it's just amazing.
Didn't ask me to agree with you.
You know what I mean? Give me 5. But you know, but there's been different elements of why it could be the biggest and the best, right? So it's London v Berlin, right? So with London, you've got subsidised in a different way to Beirut, and you've got Berlin that's non-subsidised. Go and make your own money. Now, I think that approach in Berlin will produce better companies because they're not subsidised to begin with, and they have to learn the dirty stuff as soon as they set up. So subsidies can sometimes make people lazy, or, oh, you know what, I've got the money from the government, it failed, whatever, you know, I'll do it again. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that with Lebanese people?
Actually, let's know exactly what is subsidized.
Yes, okay.
The subsidy is granted to banks, not directly to corporations.
Okay. Oh, okay.
To
Here.
in Lebanon,
Yeah.
to banks. Because banks were not allowed to invest in private companies, let alone in startups. Banks have to manage their deposits, not to go into gambling. So when the subsidy or the security is given to banks, it's in a way given to a responsible party who knows how to interact with the investment world, with the lending world, or with the investment world. And is given as a security to banks that in case this investment fails, or the success is not as it was anticipated, there's a fund which can secure your losses. So it was like pushing responsible market participants to trigger this activity. So it was only normal to do it this way. It couldn't have been like central bank directly to, and again, or the funds that we're creating, so it's banks or funds. So these funds or venture capitalists or banks, they're supposed to be responsible or experienced party to bridge the gap between this.
I could talk to you for quite a long time.
Carlos,
I enjoyed this conversation.
I need to
We have to stop.
close today, but before you go, will you
I
do me
need
the
to close
honor?
today.
Will you do me the honor and take a selfie with me and Monty?
Will I do you the honor?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Thank you.
A round of applause, please, for
Yes.
Guy Sato.
Monty, where are you?
I'm here.
He's ruining all the pictures, but
You
know.
go in the middle.
Yes.
You're the handsome one. Hello.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
Carlos, for everything.
Carlos, man, that was brilliant.
Thanks
Brilliant.
so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask just for a round of applause for Monty, who, poor guy, didn't have time to go to the bathroom in the past 6 hours. I can see the prostate is quite good. He needs a beer. So I'm going to let you guys go. I will see you tomorrow. We're very excited to see you. And thank you so much for coming
And
again.
thank you. A round of applause for Natalia as well, please.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.